Welcome back to the double leg. I'm one half of the show, Hey Jai Picks. The other half of the show, the parlay. Joining me in to recap some UFC Vegas 83. Let's get in. An interesting night of fights, capped off with a kind of a disappointment of a main event. Not too exciting, but a dominant victory by Song Yadong to get another win under his belt by decision. What'd you think of the card overall? How'd it go for you from a betting standpoint?
Yeah, it was a typical Apex card, just some weird shit happening, some fights that just don't pan out the way you thought they were. Some were boring, some were good. Betting wise, I made some really good reads. All of the biggest bets I made of the night, all three of them hit. It was just the ones that I just couldn't get I guess I just didn't have the right read on that missed. Didn't hit any props. Two parlays get screwed. So ultimately down just right at around 4 units on the night. 2 weeks in a row for me of being down right around 4. And, we've been historically good on the pay-per-view card. So, I'm putting in the work trying to get back to some good profit this weekend. But yeah, we went from being hot to just these Apex cards, actually, or I guess UFC Austin and this Apex card just kicking my ass. So I'm ready to jump back in the swing of it.
Yeah, it felt like a brutal night, like a brutal card from a betting standpoint for me, but only ended up losing in 1.25 units, just a minimal loss. I'm not too upset about that, but it just felt like nothing could go my way. But in the end, we're only down 1.25 units. A lot of that has to do with the underdog play cashing in the main event for 3 units. It's a 4.5 unit swing there, so that saved us. But yeah, another losing week. That's 2 in a row. Never like to see that, but we had that long streak. It's just part of the game. It's never like this. It's always like up and down, and just got to ride the wave. So hopefully, moving into UFC 296, we can close out the year with a big card. I know I want to go big for that. We'll be there for attendance. But before we break that down in the next video, let's recap the UFC Vegas 83. Started off with the main event. Song Yadong, decision victory over Chris Gutierrez. Some people can respect it. Some people didn't like the performance. Overall, I thought it was a dominant win. Obviously not the type of fight that's going to get the fans super excited to see you fight. But that kind of has to do with Chris Gutierrez. Like, Gutierrez is a guy that does not like to engage in any type of striking that doesn't involve your legs. Like, he is a true leg kicker, uses his kicks to hit you in the face. I mean, didn't really land all that many significant head strikes. Total of 8 to be exact. A lot of those are 76 leg kicks and 3 body kicks. And I'm sure at least 3 or 4 of those head significant strikes were from his feet, because he landed one pretty nasty up kick to the face there. But, Song Yadong still got the 50-45, even a 50-44 on the judges' scorecard. Clearly won the fight. I don't think anyone's going to argue with that. Disappointed kind of in Gutierrez just based on that last round. Like, the guy is down probably 4 rounds. I mean, we didn't know at the time, but likely down 4 rounds to nothing going into the 5th round, needs a finish. And then he kind of rolls for a leg lock, doesn't get it, and then just lays on his back and allows Song Yadong to fall into his guard. And that's pretty much how the end of the fight went, which was like, dude, what are you doing? That's got to be one of the most dumbest things that you could have done in that moment. Like a flying knee, some type of head kick, set something up. But, like, you're not going to roll for a leg lock and get it like that. But that's what I thought about the main event. What'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, if you're Chris and you're going to end up on your back later in the fight, it better be because you went for a flying knee to try to end it, or, you got a kick caught and he takes you down. Like, yeah, that roll didn't make any sense to me, especially, like, I don't care how, good of a fighter you are, how well you think you're fighting. Like, you've got to have an idea that you're down that many rounds to 1 or none. So you got to be going for the finish there. And that just wasn't a logical way to do it, in my opinion. But for Chris Gutierrez, man, he's just, if you put a guy in there against him and he's going to fight at range, and that his opponents are going to fight at range, he's going to win a lot of those fights because he is such a good kicker and he fights really well at distance. But I mean, when you're landing 100% of your strikes at distance, 0% in the clinch, 0 on the ground. It's not going to pan out against these grapplers. I mean, look what happened against Pedro Munoz, a guy who has decent striking, but wants to get in close, get in the clinch, and land shots in close. He beat Gutierrez too. So yeah, I like Chris Gutierrez's kicks, but outside of that, he's got to diversify a little bit, or he's just not going to beat some of these guys in the top 15 even. For Song Yadong, though, the dude, we've all known that this kid is really, really good. He's super young still. He's getting better, and he's just a complete package. You watch some of his strikes. He throws some spinning stuff. He's powerful and strong, and he's extremely fast. But he'll mix in the takedowns too. And when he gets you down, it's hard to get up from. He's feisty. He's really wiry on the ground. And overall, he's just a very well-rounded mixed martial artist, and he's going to be very tough to beat for anybody in the division. I mean, I think it's a kid being his age that we're going to see a lot of in the top 5 for the years to come. So he'll definitely get his crack at the title shot if he continues on.
I thought it was impressive the way he adjusted to it, because if you don't have a good game plan going against Gutierrez, like, he can find ways to beat you because he's going to frustrate you with that range. He's so good at keeping you at range, and Song was still able to win rounds, just landing the more significant strikes, even mixing in the takedowns, and just everything he had in the arsenal, he pretty much used. I know his boxing is like one of his best attributes. Didn't really get to use that a lot, but for him to win a fight not using his best attribute, I think that says a lot about him as a fighter. Interested to see how he does moving forward, because we all know this guy's super skilled, still young. He's got a very bright future in the bantamweight division. Sure, he'll be around for a very long time. So, looking forward to that. Jumping to the co-main event. Anthony Smith getting knocked out by Khalil Rountree in round 3. What'd you think of that fight?
Yeah, just one guy was landing with more power than the other. I mean, both guys, like, you look at the numbers and shockingly, they're damn near identical. Like, I mean, first round, it was 19 strikes or total significant strikes for Anthony Smith to Khalil's 20. And then round 2, they're dead even at 23 apiece. And then obviously the third round, Khalil started to take over. But yeah, I mean, from a standpoint of looking at Anthony Smith at his age and the wear and tear he's got in his career, he held his own for the first 2 rounds. He wasn't out of the fight by any means. He was one big shot or a mistake from Khalil, and then getting the takedown away from really making it really, really close. It's just the power, man. You look at Khalil, the dude does have some of the best and powerful striking in the division. And when you're fighting a guy who's a lot older than you, a lot slower, that's what the fight's going to look like, in my opinion. But props to Anthony, dude. He's tough as nails. That shot that landed in the third would have put out anybody, in my opinion. And Anthony, did what he did. He just tried to grind out a fight and give yourself a chance at the scorecards, even though he's more than likely going to lose 30-27. He gave himself opportunities at the end of the day. Just came up short.
Yeah, it was an interesting fight because I expected Anthony Smith to look for the wrestling a little bit more. I mean, I don't really think he wins many striking matches with Khalil Rountree. I mean, we basically just saw it in the first 2 rounds where it's like, okay, Anthony Smith can land just as many as you, but Khalil Rountree is going to land harder. He's going to look sharper when he does it, and you're going to wear the damage worse. Like, Anthony Smith is older. He's got a ton of miles, got a bunch of fights. You could see it in the first round. Khalil Rountree hits him a couple times. He's already bleeding. And just the way that they hit each other, Khalil Rountree is so much faster. And Anthony Smith did land some good shots, but it just didn't have the same, type of sting on it. Didn't look as good, if we're going on judges. Anybody could look at the way that they hit each other and be like, yeah, Khalil Rountree's definitely hitting him harder, definitely hitting him cleaner. And it's just a fight where I thought Anthony Smith would have to look to grapple. Didn't really look to do that. Attempted 2 takedowns. I mean, he's a guy that usually has a decent game plan. It looked like he went in there wanting to try to like outstrike him in a way where he's hitting him more times, or he's just avoiding big shots. But eventually, he just got caught with the big shot. And if you're gonna fight Khalil Rountree, you're gonna have to wear him out. I mean, I did like the forward pressure by Anthony Smith early, but it just wasn't enough. Khalil is a tank too. It's not like he's going to be an easy guy to take down, because he's a little bit shorter for the weight class. He's built like a brick shit house, and I don't think Anthony Smith at that age is going to have a lot of success getting takedowns either. So I can't really fault him for that. Just completely outgunned in this fight, and Khalil Rountree gets it done. Nazareth hack press, Jamie Malarkey. Another knockout loss for Jamie Malarkey. That's we talked about it on the preview show. The chin, as long as it holds up, he's got a chance in this fight, and the chin did not hold up. Another one in the books for Jamie Malarkey. What'd you think?
Yeah, it's just not a good combination when you got Jamie Malarkey, who doesn't have the best chin, mixed with his, his style. He just crashes forward to try to get in close, and then he just gets caught every single time. I mean, Nazareth hack press is a great striker. Don't get me wrong, but he's not this power puncher that he looked like last night by any means. He has one other finish in his career by TKO, and then he comes in and does it against Jamie. I really do think if this fight's a 3-round fight, Jamie is very close, and it's probably a split decision type of fight, just because he does mix in the wrestling well. His offensive striking isn't bad. He's got a little power and he has a good jab, but it just fight didn't last long enough for him to do anything or show any ability or even do any damage or anything like that. So is what it is. I had the decision prop in this one, and it didn't even make it close to it. So
Yeah, it was I mean, the chin's just failing him. Like, that's all it is.
yeah,
It's got a good skill set, but it's just you can't take a shot. Like, even the shot that he got hit with last night, he had the hand up. Like, the hand was up, but it just got right around where it hit him, and it hit him clean. Gets put down. I mean, he obviously did his best to try to recover, but he got rocked pretty bad, and Nazareth did not let up whatsoever. Ends up getting 2 knockdowns on the scorecard. So, yeah, it's a rough go about for Jamie Malarkey. Like, where does he go from here? It's clear he can't take a shot. He's not going to take a shot from anybody in the top 15, and probably not the top 30. I mean, he's got a couple wins by decision in the year, but those are guys that he was able to not get chin checked by. So moving forward, man, I don't know. Like, where does Jamie Malarkey go from here? We'll see. But yeah, the chin's always going to be an issue, and it's not like something that you can get better at. It's just a thing you're going to have to live with. So maybe he's got to evolve as a fighter, or yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Tim Elliott, Sumaderchi, Tim Elliott, round 1 sub, gets him down, bloodies him up, and then gets that arm triangle. And I don't know if you saw it, but like, he started like spitting blood or like,
where'd it come from?
That was pretty nasty. I was like, oh my God, stop this fight right now, because we saw it in the last fight with Sumaderchi when he got submitted by Matt Schnell. He was all bloodied up and he got choked out with the triangle choke, and he didn't tap. He just went to sleep. And then in this one, Tim Elliott's got him bloodied up, gets the arm triangle, and we're kind of like, is he going to tap? Like, it looks pretty locked in. It's not tapping, and then blood just shoots out of his mouth or his nose, and it's like, yeah, he's done. He's done here. But Tim Elliott stepping in on short notice. It was a clear grappling advantage for him. Sumaderchi showed he's just got very poor defensive grappling. And in this one, Tim Elliott knew he could expose it. I didn't expect him to get it done that early, but he was there. 1 takedown's all it took, and Tim Elliott gets it done. What you think?
Yeah, I love Tim Elliott, dude. He's just one of the fighters. In his last 4 fights, I've found ways to cash. It started with Tagir Ulanbekov. I took him to beat him. Took him against Victor Altamirano. And then in the Makaya fight, I took the fight to end in the 3rd round at like plus 800 or something like that. And then obviously you and I were high on him last night because of the grappling advantage he was going to have. And Sumaderji is powerful, and he was making me nervous because he was hitting Tim a little bit in the 1st round, because Tim was just, being the weird fighter that he is, hopping on one leg, he almost like resembles Dominic Cruz's movement a little bit. He's just so weird. And once he got him down, he didn't waste any time. Got the sub in, and I had Tim Elliott by sub in the 2nd and in the 3rd round at big odds. And of course he does it in the 1st. That's just what kind of night it was last night. But yeah, if you have grappling deficiencies going up against Tim Elliott, he's gonna beat you. Like, the guy, once he gets in, he will get you to the ground. Even if you get up, he's gonna put you back down. If you look at a lot of his fights, I mean, he's scoring 6 takedowns against Altamirano, 3 against Tagir Ulanbekov, 4 against Jordan Espinosa. Like, he has a very, very good grappling game, and he doesn't always finish with the submission, but against guys like Sumaderji, who've been submitted 5 times in their career, like, he's going to have that advantage over you, and he's probably going to lock it in if he gets in a good position. So yeah, that was a fun one for me last night because I needed it bad. Had just over a little bit over 2 units back on Tim Elliott. So yeah, it was a good one.
I was a little worried for him when the fight started. He was looking a little cocky. I was like, "Oh, he's just gonna be like a meme KO,
Like a Bobby Green situation.
yeah, he's like showboating, and then bang, he gets caught with something and put out." But
Yeah.
didn't happen. And Tim Elliott picks it up another win and another paycheck. Move on. Andre Muniz picking up a split decision over the Iron Turtle. Some people think Iron Turtle won. Some people think Muniz won. What do you think of the decision?
I think Muniz won. You know, he controlled, I'd say, 13 minutes of the fight, it looked like, and then just those other few minutes at the end of the rounds that Park would get on top and land some ground and pound. But the first round was close just because he gets him into mount at the end, lands some good elbows and good shots with the ground and pound. Second round, obviously Muniz, but in the third round, he was just too tired to land the ground and pound to sway the judges, in my opinion. If he had more in the gas tank, maybe he could have done something there and really put a statement on it. But when you're taken down 11 times in a fight, it's just impossible to be able to finish a fight that late. Muniz, though, I mean, it's just typical Andre Muniz. If you let him get in and get your back and get his hands locked, he's hard to get up from. I mean, we saw it against Uriah Hall. He's very good on the ground. I expected once he got Park down and had him in some of those situations, I expected him to not only look for the finish a little more, but just do some damage or just do anything. But he just didn't. That's why I think the fight was closer than people think, or people thought Park should have won, because Muniz was still outlanded by Park in this fight by a decent amount. I believe, 27-14 in significant strikes, but the 11 takedowns, even though he didn't do much damage, it's just hard to ignore if you're a judge.
Yeah, I thought it was a fair win for Muniz, but like moving forward, you can't get by with that. Like, you got to be able to take a guy down or at least threaten with submissions, do some damage. But I think this was just a case of like one guy's just bigger than the other guy. He's a good grappler. Like, Andre Muniz looks so much bigger than Junyoung Park in there, and he just used that to his advantage. Gets the body lock, shoots a takedown, and chain wrestles basically. Like, Park was doing a pretty good job getting back up to his feet, but he just couldn't get him off of him. Like, he couldn't break the lock to get Muniz to get some separation, and Muniz was just too big. I mean, 11 takedowns, you give up that many takedowns in one fight, I don't think you can expect to win. And I think Junyoung Park, he was on the streak, and he gets a good opponent here in Muniz. He takes the loss, and it's just a loss that he'll probably look back on and be like, I could win that fight if I could just sure up some takedown deficiencies, or just get this guy off me. I need to get this guy off me. It just wasn't able to do that, and the damage that he did wasn't enough to sway the judges, because he was getting wrestled for that long during the fight. So fair win by Muniz. Hated watching it. It was super boring. It was like, come on, dude. You're just holding on for dear life at this point. Not even trying to land any damage when he's got him on the ground. Literally just trying to hold on to him and put his weight on him, keep him down. Looked like a wrestling match at that point, which was pretty boring. But he gets the win nonetheless. We'll move on to the prelims. We could touch on some of these fights. Some of them were exciting. Some of them were not. Kevin Jousset, Song Kenan. This one was, I mean, I don't want to take away from Jousset, but Kenan looked like he was a punching bag for 3 rounds. A lot of that does have to do with Jousset's jab. He used it pretty well, kept him at distance, used a lot of leg kicks, but Kenan just didn't really get going in anything. So, I mean, you got to give some credit to Jousset, but Kenan didn't look good to me. What'd you think?
Yeah, I didn't think so either. He just looked a step slower. I mean, he got finished by Ian Gary in the third round when they fought, and he looked way worse in this fight than he did even against Gary. And, Jousset, like you said, nothing to take away from him. The jab was working really well. And it's just the thing, like, the jab is such an underrated weapon in mixed martial arts, because against a guy like Kenan, you're touching him up every time you throw it, and it just zaps the energy from you. Like, Kenan comes in ready to throw a combination, and he's stopped in his tracks with a jab over and over and over. And Jousset just never really, he didn't even really put, the pedal to the metal and put it on the gas. I mean, he really fought the same pace the whole night, and it was just point fighting, and he was effective, and he landed 134 significant strikes. So you can't really fault the guy. I do think, though, like, guys that are a little more aggressive and guys with some grappling are going to give Jousset troubles. I know he's newer to the UFC. It's only his second fight, and he's got plenty of time to get better, and, he's going to fight better competition. But even with a win like that, he just like didn't look that impressive. Like he looked good, don't get me wrong, but just compared to what he should have done to Kanan was just, I don't know. I feel like he could have finished Kanan if he just put his, the pedal down. I feel like he could have done it. So yeah, just a frustrating fight to watch.
Hung Sun Park, Shannon Ross tweeted it out after the fight, but if Shannon Ross gets another fight in the UFC has no excuse not to let Dylan Dennis into the UFC, because Shannon Ross should not be in the UFC. 4th straight knockout loss. I hate to kick a guy while he's down, but I wouldn't give him another fight unless they just need a body, because it's clear this guy can't take a shot, gets knocked down a couple times, and I'll just leave it at that. Like, that's just what the fight was. What do you think?
Yeah, so I made a video leading up to this week that there's a possibility that Shannon Ross has some blackmail on Dana White or was going to sue the UFC after the Contender series, because this kid came into the Contender series, was cleared by the UFC doctors, and it turns out he had appendicitis and his appendix could have burst in the octagon and it would have been very, very bad. And the doctors missed it and he went on to fight. He gets finished by TKO in the 2nd round, and then Dana White lets him into the UFC. He gets knocked out. Dana White gives him another fight. He gets flatlined by Jesus Aguilar, who has not one single knockout on his record. And then he goes in last night and gets knocked out again. That's 4 in a row under the UFC banner. Dana White's Contender Series and 3 in the UFC. Like, what's the point? What's the point? I don't know. This kid just has not looked that good. Like, granted, last night he fought well when he wasn't getting touched. Like, he does have a pretty decent stand-up game. It's just the chin. Every time he gets touched, he got barrel rolled with a jab last night against a guy that doesn't really notoriously have a ton of power. Like, Park is finishing dudes by submission, or he gets them tired and he gets the TKO late in fights. He's not a big one-shot power guy, and he looked like it last night. So yeah, I don't know, something's going on there. Dana White just must really like the kid, or he's afraid he was going to get sued and he promised him 4 fights in the UFC.
Yeah. Or they just need bodies at flyweight.
Yeah, that's true too. That's true.
Makes sense. It just doesn't really. I mean, he's 13-9 now, so yeah. Steve Garcia, 2nd round TKO against Melky Costa. This is one I was kicking myself for, because I had Steve Garcia when he was on the UFC Austin card, move it back a week because he pulled out, and I get cold feet. I pull out of the Garcia side, and he ends up putting it out. I mean, the guy is just scary on the feet. I think he's super underrated, because when he knocks guys out, like they get hurt bad. Like Melky Costa took some nasty elbows on the ground and ended up trying to take down the referee after the fight. Didn't know where he was. He was shooting a single leg on the referee, and the referee was getting blood all over him. And Steve Garcia, man, he's not a guy you want to trade hands with, because he's just so wild and so powerful that people get cold feet. And Costa didn't look like he didn't want to engage in that in the first round. Had him against the cage for pretty much the whole first round. Couldn't get the takedown or sink in the hooks. Comes out in round 2. Garcia is just a bat out of hell. Gets him out of there. Impressive stuff by Steve Garcia. What do you think?
Yeah, I was telling you, like, where I went wrong in this fight was thinking or not trusting myself in, like, you got Steve Garcia near plus 200 at one point, and he's that much of a finisher and power puncher. Like, that should be an automatic chance on him as a big underdog like that, because he's got the ability to put anybody out. But Costa, normally a great striker, uses his kicks really well, frustrates guys, and then just beats the body up with the kicks and the legs. But you could tell he was just scared to engage last night with a guy like Garcia. He takes his back in the first round standing and throws a ton of knees. To his credit, he tried to get the back. He tried to slip that far leg in there as many times as he could, and Garcia was wise to it and did a great job defending. And I think Costa's game plan was just to go in there in the second round and do the same thing over and over until he got the back or he took him down. It just never happened. And Garcia gets the KO. So yeah, that was nasty. I don't know if you caught it too. I might be tripping, but after the fight, when Costa has the leg of the referee, there's somebody in the octagon screaming like "sit down," just screaming at Costa at the top of their lungs, and you could catch it on the mic. It sounded like a PE teacher yelling at a kindergartner in there. It was pretty funny.
I think I saw like some guy trip on the stool or something in the back. Like, people were like, "Hold on, this guy's like trying to fight the ref."
Yeah.
It was wild stuff. But Costa looked like he took it like a champ. I saw it on Instagram. He was like making a joke about it. So
Yeah.
he's all right. Luana Santos, Stephanie Egger. Don't got much on this one. Your typical women's boring women's MMA fight. Luana Santos picks up the decision victory. Pretty easy win for her. A lot of clinch work. What'd you think?
Yeah, I had a big bet on Santos here just because I just didn't. I don't know. I thought she's going to be better than Edgar everywhere, and she was for the most part. But damn, she made me nervous going into the third round because she was gassed, dude. She
Yeah.
was tired and just looked a little sluggish. And I thought if Edgar gets her down here, she's going to be in serious trouble. But she didn't. I mean, Santos dug deep and did what she had to, put her up against the cage, and didn't do much else besides that. But it got the dub.
Yeah. One thing I will say, it's like if you're a fighter, you got to do everything you can to not look tired because it was clear that she looked tired. And when she was holding Edgar up against the cage, Herb Dean's like, no, she tired. Like he knows she's just stalling there. Like she's not really trying to do much. So I think they have like a shorter leash when they know, when they can tell you're tired. I think the refs have a shorter leash. But if you're like strong in there, you're not huffing and puffing. I think they usually try to let you go as much as you can. So
Right.
yeah. Tatsuro Taira, Carlos Hernandez, round 2 KO by Taira. First KO is it in his MMA career or is it just the UFC?
I think he's got some TKOs early.
Yeah, but that one was pretty nice. I mean, it was on the feet, a nice little left hook, and finishes him off there. Don't got much on that one, but what'd you think?
Yeah, I've always like since Tatsuro Taira fought, I want to say either Jesus Aguilar or CJ Vergara, I've been waiting to fade him. Like I said on our preview show, like I took Carlos Hernandez because I thought he'd be able to get back up and then make this a dogfight towards the end. But I didn't place the bet because I just don't think it's that time yet. But I feel like there's going to come a time when Tatsuro Taira, you get the fade on him. But I don't know, kind of changed my mind a little bit last night seeing the powerful striking like that. Like if he can keep improving in the striking, he's going to be a force because the ground game's good. I wish, at the UFC level, you can tell he doesn't have like that just automatic finishing ability by submission. We saw it against Shirez, and last night in the first round, he couldn't really get the submission wrapped up against Hernandez either, and finished him standing. I mean, that was a nice shot he hit him with. Hernandez doesn't really get wobbled like that much. He's been in there with guys that hit really hard, but Tatsuro Taira put it right on the button. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, it was a smart thing. Round one. I mean, Hernandez went for the takedown and Taira kind of reversed it, ended up on top. And then after that, Hernandez was just super shy to like throw anything because he didn't want to get taken down because he knew it wasn't getting up. So that played into it, ends up clipping him, putting him out. First fight of the night, Toledo Alencar, Heine Amanda. Don't got much on this one. It was another pretty boring women's MMA fight. And I don't think anyone that will be too interested to hear our recap of this one, but you got anything on this one?
Yeah, both girls just not that good in my opinion.
Yeah.
I did think Amanda won the fight. I thought Alencar clear round 2, and then round 1 clear for Amanda, and then third round was somewhat close, but I thought Amanda just landed the better shots, but it's her own fault in my opinion. She slowed down, she tried to coast, and bit her in the ass. And it's women's MMA, so I don't know what I expected.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was a fight where Amanda, I think, clearly could have won, and she just didn't do it. She just didn't do enough. Like she just coasted after the round 1. Clearly won the first round, and then next 2 rounds was just didn't do much. And I thought she could have easily won. So can't blame Alencar for picking up a dub there, and I can't blame the judges either because she was kind of the more aggressive fighter in the last couple rounds. So that's the recap you for UFC Vegas 83. The last card of the year coming up next week, UFC 296. Absolutely stacked. I mean, let's go through this main card real quick. We got Leon Edwards, Colby Covington. We got Alexandre Pantoja, Brandon Royval. We got Shavkat Rakhmonov, Stephen Thompson, Tony Ferguson, Paddy Pimblett, Vincent DeLuca, Ian Gary, Josh Emmett, Bryce Mitchell. And that's just the 6 fights. And then we got prelims, Cody Garbrandt. We got Dustin Jacoby, Alonzo Menafield. We got Cody Durden. We got Andre Feely. We got Randy Brown, Muslim Salikov. I mean, just tons of names. Card is absolutely loaded. We'll bring you the breakdown coming Monday or Tuesday morning. And we're super excited for that. We'll be there in attendance. So stay tuned for that. Stay up to date with everything at the Doubling on Instagram. At HeyJai Picks on the medias for me. Where can they find you?
All social medias at the Parlay MMA.
Appreciate you all. Hit the subscription button for us. It'll help us out a lot. Hit the like button for us as well. Till next time, the Double Leg signing out.